Hi, everyone. Welcome to Conejo Valley Visionaries, a weekly podcast spotlighting the people and stories behind some of your favorite Conejo Valley businesses. I'm your host, Cristina Dennstedt. Today, you'll hear from Brittaney Carpenter, wife, mother, esthetician, and owner of Face and Soul Studios in Thousand Oaks. Brittaney's mission since founding Face and Soul in 2018 has been to help people look and feel their best, empower other women to grow their own businesses, and introduce the community to clean products that are women-owned and California-based. Brittaney has accomplished so much in such a little amount of time, and her vision is even bigger. I can't wait for you to hear her story. Before we get started, do you like supporting local businesses? Then please share this episode with a friend. Sharing episodes and spreading the word is a great way to help local businesses thrive. With that, please enjoy my conversation with Brittaney Carpenter. Hey, Brittaney, welcome to Conejo Valley Visionaries.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I am excited to speak with you. This is the first interview of season 2 of the podcast, and I am thrilled to learn about your journey. I've been able to sort of watch from the sidelines, and I'm so excited to hear how and why you came up with Face and Soul Studios. But as always with Conejo Valley Visionaries, I like to start from the beginning and want to know, what did you want to be when you grew up? What did you study? Tell us a little bit about the early years.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. And when I was growing up, I wanted to be, what every little girl wants to be. I was going to be a singer or a fashion designer. So ultimately, I ended up going to school at FITM in San Francisco. And I got my merchandise marketing degree there. And I quickly realized that I did not. So by the time I got to college, I decided I wanted to be a fashion buyer and travel the world. That was my big plan. And then it was very short into school that I realized that they do not travel anymore. They just kind of sit behind a computer and do Excel. And so after I moved to LA, I moved to LA when I was 19 with some girlfriends to finish out school. And I kept getting into the beauty industry. And so my background is corporate beauty. Okay. And after working for a beauty school, I was doing admissions at a beauty school. I had the opportunity to go to school for free, which I didn't really want to do. But my husband was like, hey, you never know when you might use it. So why don't you just go do that? And so I did. And the rest is kind of history of how I became an esthetician.
So I'm curious, why did you not want to actually take advantage of that? I mean, free education, not bad.
It's so funny because I always envisioned myself, especially as a little kid, my parents always said, my dad always said that I should be a lawyer. And I always envisioned myself running people's companies. I could see myself, which is so far from who I am today, because now I wear ripped jeans and band t-shirts and Vans to work. But
you're running a company, so I'm confused.
I am, right? So it's just a different vision. It's staying true to myself. I had this vision of me in a suit with a briefcase, running other people's businesses, and always kind of being a boss, but I never saw myself as the owner myself. And so when I was climbing a corporate ladder.
So you had mentioned how, I think you were talking about how your parents thought you were going to be a lawyer.
My dad wanted me to be a lawyer.
Your dad wanted to be, okay, why did he want you to be a lawyer?
I think it was a pretty good debater.
Okay.
I'm a Taurus, so I could be stubborn.
Sure.
I love control, in a healthy way.
Yep. Self-awareness is important. I love that.
Yeah, self-aware, right? But he, I think he saw more for me, and when I told him I was going to go to school for fashion, he was probably a little confused by that, or wasn't sure where that was going to go. And ultimately I'm, so strong-willed that I was like, no, Dad, this is what I'm doing. And a year into it, when I moved down to LA to finish my second year, I just really struggled after graduating from college. I graduated in 2007. I tried to get jobs in the fashion industry. I should have been in New York for that. Like, I don't feel like LA is a huge fashion market. So like the jobs were retail jobs, and then you could move up from there. And I'm like, why did I just spend all this money on this college degree to move up? So I just found myself getting more into the beauty industry. But I was like struggling. I moved down to LA. I took out a student loan to do it. I remember one time asking my mom to borrow money, and she was like, "Are you okay? Do you need to come home?" Just because, but I refused, I knew like the second I got here, like that this is kind of where I was meant to be. And no matter how much I felt like I was failing or I wasn't figuring it out, like I knew there was a bigger reason of why I was here.
Wow.
So yeah, then one of my first jobs was I was working as a receptionist in a hair salon. And then that got me into just pursuing the beauty industry. I was working admissions at the beauty school, and they gave me the opportunity after 5 years to go to school. And like I was saying, I didn't see myself. My first initial thought is probably what a lot of people have is, how do you make money doing that? Like, you're so used to the idea of like, you graduate college, someone gives you a salary, and you just sit back and collect that salary, and then you ask your boss for a raise every year, and that's kind of just how the world works. So for me, it was like, how am I going to make money waxing eyebrows or doing facials? Or that just doesn't make sense to me. And I saw myself doing big things, and I saw myself climbing this corporate ladder at the time. And but I went to school anyways, and I figured, you never know. And I fell in love with it, of course. And I ended up, after I was working at this beauty school, it actually ended up closing while I was working there. And the problem that I was having is I had wanted to leave this beauty school for a while. But I was so invested in my students that I enrolled. Like, I remember saying, okay, once this student graduates, then I could try to look for another job. Like, I had to see.
So like the journey of the person that you allow, like join the school.
Yes. So it was like, I was so invested in them, and I was so invested in their success that it was like, okay. I mean, there were some that I was less invested in, but there were some that I was just like, oh my God, I have to see this person through. I have to see what they end up doing. And ultimately, the school ended up closing and forced me out. And I had gotten, after that, what I thought was my dream job. And I was working as a special projects manager for a pro makeup line. And the company was fantastic. The owners were amazing. They took me under their wing. I worked directly with the owners. I worked with influencers. I worked with the manufacturers. And I got to see like this blanket of how a business was ran. And ultimately there, it was like, I have this dream job. I have this job that I've worked so long, like, to get to this status. And as much as I love them, even as like people, they were like a family to me, I was so unfulfilled. And I felt myself just like, I could maybe, not that I could do their job better, but like I had such a vision of like, I could do this, or something like this.
They gave you the inspiration or like the vision that it was possible.
Yeah. And it kind of just opened my eyes to like, let's jump off a cliff and like see what happens. And I sat down with my husband, and he had made me a little studio. We had bought in a 2-bedroom house in Van Nuys, and they had a studio in the back, and he put a little bed back there and made me like a little brow waxing room. And I was like, what if I go rent a space in like a real salon, and I just give myself, we had decided we had enough money I had 4 months. And if I was at least breaking even at 4 months, like I wasn't losing money, then I could keep doing it. And if not, like the old company I worked for, they were willing to take me back if it didn't work out. And so yeah, I jumped off a cliff. I started renting a room out of a studio in Agora. I fell in love with it. And then again, realized like, oh wait, I could do this, but like in a different way. And therefore the next jump happened.
Wow.
So
Okay. So what year was it that you took that first leap to like give yourself 4 months?
2016.
Okay.
Yeah. So I
You
bought
graduated in 2007. You worked for this school after that, and then you worked for this other makeup company. And then that's when you're like, okay, this is time for me to try.
Yes. And then it was me and Lindsay, who actually does the hair at Face and Soul, and then Julia, who does the nails. We all three were kind of coming up at the same time. And so we were sharing a lot of clients. Like it turned in, and that's how we were able to build so fast and so well. It was like, okay, well, who does your brows? Like, if they were going to Julian, who does your nails and who does your hair? And the next thing you know, we're kind of sharing these clients. And so my idea was like, what if we just open like a studio that is a one-stop shop and it's like a community feel? And then from there, the vision grew even bigger. So we all went, it was like, I'll take on the risk if you guys promise to come with me. And they did. And then Face and Soul was born. And that was exactly 2 years after I started renting out of this.
Oh my gosh, that's so fast. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Even I was thinking to myself, even giving yourself only 4 months to be able to break even, that's not a lot of time. So that must have been, you saw some immediate success to then like propel you continuing to move forward.
I was so lucky when people hate on Instagram, it's like, I have to give it to Instagram because that was the time where everybody wanted to share what they were doing. A little tiny post, still to this day goes so far. It's less now. I feel like Instagram has really changed, but like back then, everybody was posting like what they were doing, where they were going, what they were eating. And it helped me grow my business so fast. Word of mouth as well. And I was working in a salon. So I had she probably had about 10 hairstylists there. So they would end up sending clients my way as well. So it was a good way of building during that time.
Taking it back to school real fast, when you go to beauty school, do you have to select a specialty at that point, or do you learn all facets of sort of beauty?
So you do. You can get a cosmetology license, which is 1,600 hours, an esthetician license, which is 600 hours, or a manicurist license, which is 4. I ended up doing the esthetician mainly because of time and because when I looked, I did not really see this all coming. It was very much like, oh, I'll do it on the side. Maybe when I have some babies, who knows? And I'm happy because I couldn't really see myself doing hair or anything like that. But I didn't see it becoming what it is. So yeah, you do esthetician, you do 600 hours and you learn facials, waxing, facials and waxing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then now though, you focus on waxing and lash extensions.
Lash lifts.
Lash lifts, excuse me.
Yes.
What are the difference between those? But I want to go back into the journey, but I am curious since I missaid it.
Yes.
What are the difference between those two things?
So lash extensions are adding lashes to your lashes. So it's thickness. They're like false lashes, but they last longer. You don't have to, the maintenance is a lot more on them. A lash lift is just almost like a perm for your eyelashes. So it takes your natural lashes, lifts them so they appear fuller and longer, but they're just your lashes. So we're only working with that.
Great.
And that maintenance is way less. That it lasts about 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So take me back to you were in Agora renting a space. You then connected with your 2 partners, it sounds like, or at least the 2 other women who are working in your current studio, right? So how did you go from Agora? Why did you end up in the Conejo Valley to begin with? If you were living in Van Nuys, that's what I'm curious about.
So funny. So Lindsay was working at the salon in Agora, and we had connected through another friend. And I had just gotten my license. I was really wanting to do brows, but like, again, I was just doing it out of my home studio and just with my friends. And she was like, well, this room just became available at the salon I work at. Like, you should totally come check it out. And I asked her how much the rent was. And I was like, no. Like, one, that's way too far from where I live. Two, I just can't afford it. There's no way. And she's like, just come check it out. Like, come get your hair done by me, like, see what you think. And then maybe you can talk to the owner. So, of course, I go in and immediately I'm like, oh my God, I love this whole vibe. I've never worked in an environment like that. So I felt very much like, okay, I could totally see myself here. And then I talked to the owner. We negotiated rents, and then I was able to start because I told her I have no clientele. I don't know how I'm supposed to afford this. So luckily, she worked with me for the first month, and then she very much was like, "Okay, time to pay regular rent." Lindsay and Julia were actually working at the same salon. And then they were two of my students from the beauty school.
Oh, I didn't realize that's where the connection came back from. So this beauty school really is like the epicenter of the
Yes.
of you. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, it really did. And I mean, still to this day, and that is the lesson of why you keep good relationships and you put good out into this world, because a lot of my clients are from the beauty school. Like, I've watched their careers and them, go off and rent spaces or own spaces. And it's just beautiful to see even their journeys. Still to this day, I still follow them. So, and we all became like in this resource and community together. So
that's fantastic. So you had your foot in your door in Conejo Valley, and then when you decided you wanted to branch out and open your own studio, you decided to just move further into.
Oh my God. That's a funny story because I was still living in Van Nuys. When I decided I was going to find my own place, I got one of my clients, her husband was in commercial real estate. So I hired him. I said, hey, can you help me find a place? And I said, I only want to go. I was very specific. 2 exits from Canaan. This is my Calabasas to like no further than Westlake. And of course, he found this place in Thousand Oaks, and it was it was on Teo Boulevard, but a little like off of it. And he's like, I think you got to check this place out. Like, it's kind of just sounding like what you want. And I went, I was like, it's too far. It feels too far.
It's one more
went
exit.
in. Yeah, exactly. It's more than 2 exits. And I went in though, and I was like, it's not much, but it's perfect. Mm-hmm. Like, I saw every wall. I saw every shelf on the wall. I just could visualize it perfectly. And we walk out and my husband goes, that's not the one, huh? And I'm like, no, I think it is. And he was like, really? And you don't want to look at more? I'm like, no, that's it. Like, it's perfect. And Mercury was in retrograde.
Hate that.
So I told the guy that I wasn't signing any lease paperwork until Mercury was out of retrograde, this was in August of 2018. And it was going to be September 1st Mercury was out of retrograde. So I said I'd sign it then. And of course they did the whole, it might not be available. And I said, well, then it's not meant to be. And I'm not signing it while Mercury is in retrograde. And he thought I was a crazy person. Everyone did. And needless to say, during that 2-week time, I ended up finding out that I was pregnant with Stevie. And after trying for a year. Wow. And so it was this like, oh, well, I guess we're having 2 babies, because it was like, am I going to still do this because I'm pregnant, right, and take on the financial risk and take this like huge leap of faith, or do I just stay where I'm at? And it was kind of that first like leap in the road, That's
a big decision to make.
Yeah.
Did it feel natural to choose to do both, or did you really have to?
It felt really easy for me. It was like, I already saw the vision, and the vision was so crystal clear to me that I was like, no, we're for sure just going forward. But I remember Lindsay specifically like sitting me down after I told her I was pregnant, and she was like, you don't have to do this. And I remember saying, but I do. Like, if I don't do it now, like, when am I going to do it? So
that gives me
Mercury was out of retrograde.
That's incredible. So
Yeah.
your 6-year anniversary just passed of like that first lease.
Yes.
Congratulations.
So yeah, we're actually, September 1st when I signed it, and then we opened October 16th.
That's really fast too. So was the space already like kind of set up as a spa, or you went in there and did it all? Nice.
Went in there and did it all with help from my friends, like a lot of hands on deck.
First trimester, that must have felt really great.
Oh my God. Thank goodness she was good to me, because I had a wedding in Mexico. I was pregnant. I wasn't feeling 100%. And here we are in construction. But we did it. And then we were building stuff right before the opening. It was like everybody and their husbands and fiancés and boyfriends, and everyone was there building furniture so we can open the next day. And it's crazy to look back on those first pictures of like what Face and Soul opened as, and then how it grew over the 5 years that we were even in that space. And then now to what it is today is like wild.
I would love to see those early pictures, because as you mentioned, now you're in a different space. I only have seen your current space. So about a year ago, you moved to this new location, or?
May.
Okay.
May.
Oh, no, really recently.
Yeah. So you came in like right when we opened. It was very fresh. So yeah, and that was the vision of, for the last 5 years, I was having babies, so I was really distracted. And as I say with my business, it was just moving along pretty easy. But I always thought, like, how am I going to grow this business? And what's the vision? The space was getting cramped. I had added 2 more people in there. So there was a total of 5 of us. It was just, we were working on top of each other. It was becoming a lot. And so I knew it was time to make a move. And that's when I decided, my lease was up there, and I decided it was time for a bigger space.
Got it. Wow. And how did that feel to like be able to make that move? I mean,
oh my God.
And to say, I mean, you have such an eye for aesthetics. Your studio is gorgeous. And I could see, like, how did that jump feel, and what were the decisions of finding a new space behind that? It's also in Thousand Oaks. So you decided, one, to stay in the area.
Yes. I was not leaving. Once I got into Thousand Oaks, so me and my family also moved to Thousand Oaks in 2020. So then I was like, we are in it. We are staying. And I didn't want to go far. So I hired the same friend of mine that's the commercial real estate guy. Told him what I was looking for. And this was not as easy. So like I was looking since October. I had a vision for what I wanted, and I was not being able to find anything that was working, or like was worth the financial, like how much work we would have to put into it. And I didn't have a big budget. And so he found this space. And I remember going to it. And if you're familiar with where my location is, we are right next to the after-hour pediatric urgent care, which, having 3 children, I have frequented often. And I remember pulling into the parking lot, and I looked at him and I said, no, no, I'm not going to be next to a pediatric urgent care. Like, no. And he was explaining to me, it's after hours. They're only here in the evening, 6 to 10. They're only here on like, you're barely going to see them. But it was just almost like being next to a hospital, it felt like to me, because when I had taken my kids there, it was like scary situations.
Right.
So I walked in, and the same thing happened like at the first place, where I was like, wait, I could see I could see furniture. We had windows. It was it was perfect.
That is so awesome. And I feel like each stage for you is shorter than I feel like most people experience. So that's really, really cool and exciting. How would you describe Face and Soul now? What is your offering? Like, what are people going to walk into and experience?
So I feel like I have curated, not on purpose, but just organically, this perfect mesh of women where it is truly a one-stop shop. So my vision with Face and Soul Studios was before, if you had gone to that location, it was a very open space where we were all kind of working next to each other, on top of each other. We could hear everyone's conversations. And what I had missed was my days renting a room in that first salon where like the conversations were so intimate and personal and we got deep. And I had noticed over the last few years that the conversations were very surface level. The appointments were quicker because there was less privacy. It was like, okay, come in, get your service. Okay, let's pay. And you were leaving. And I missed that connection with my clients. So the vision was to have these private rooms and these suites where we can all work individually, but we could still feel like we were part of a community and we weren't isolated. And it's still like one of the things I'm most proud of is like that we all share clients or we know each other's clients. And so it's not just us that feel like it's a community within. It's like our clients feel like they're part of a community as well. Even if they're just going to one of us or if they're going to five of us, like they know us, even if they don't get services from us. So right now, the services we offer is pretty much a little bit of everything with a holistic twist. So I do brow laminations, brow waxes, and lash lifts. I used to do facials, but I retired in 2020. I was like, I just realized it wasn't something I was really enjoying anymore. And so I stuck to the services that brought me the most joy, and I could talk because I'm a talker.
Yeah.
And then we have 805 Aesthetics. Her name's Lindsay, and she is specializes in body waxing. She is a great facialist. She's more on the holistic side with fantastic facial massage. She also does brow laminations, lash lifts, brow waxes. Then we have Julia, Nails by Julia, and she specializes in gel manicures and nail design. She is amazing. Once you go to her, you will realize what makes her so different. She just takes her time. She's great with her work. She cares about your nail health, and you could tell, like, once you go to her. And then we have Kirsten, who she is I call her my other half because she was the one I brought in when I went and had my babies. So when I went and had Stevie, I brought Kirsten in as my assistant and I trained her to be able to take my clients while I was gone. And then I realized I loved her so much that she was never allowed to leave me. So she had to stay forever. So she does the same services as me, but she also does lash extensions.
Okay.
So we do have that. And then we have Lindsay, and she does hair. And she specializes, she's great with blondes, she's great with haircuts, but she can pretty much do it all. And then we have Lizzie, who is body work. And she is amazing when it comes to lymphatic drainage, massages, prenatal massages. She's just, how I describe her is she's a healer, and she will give your body what it needs. And she's next level.
That is quite an offering. And I had no idea, honestly. I didn't realize that you offered all of that. So that's really great. Can people visit your website to book any of these treatments with the different team members?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So if you go to the website, it'll show us all. It'll show a little blurb of what our services are. And then if you click on it, it'll open up the full menu of services and pricing and availability. So you can schedule all the appointments online.
Well, and it feels like your offering is like all of the like modern treatments that we all want, I think. At least in a certain age group. It's like what I'm learning about, I'm hearing about, and maybe in the past have had a hard time really finding in the Conejo Valley, and especially like a very chic, aesthetically pleasing version of it. So.
Yes. And
Me
I
too.
want and I want people to feel like my favorite days are when people go, get their hair done. Then they hop over and get their lashes done. And then they hop over and get their nails done. And they're like hanging with us all day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is so fun. Like, I love you. So,
In a way, it sort of reminds me of like a different time too, because I do feel like when I was growing up, you would go to a hair salon and get your nails done. I don't think I feel like that sort of was no longer like happening. You went to very specific places to get things done. And I like the idea of it all being under the same roof.
yeah. And still just a little private and, but a little community feel at the same time. So,
And you also have a retail component, right?
yes. So
Okay.
that retail is near and dear to my heart. It's like I call it the passion project because it's not like I'm rolling in the dough from it, but I like love curating. I love carrying products. I love supporting other small businesses. So everything that I sell in store is women owned, California based, and non toxic. So we have everything from like skincare goods to gifty goods. And it switches and rotates throughout the year.
I like that that's part of your brand ethos. Women owned, local, wellness, like non toxic, all amazing things. One of my favorite things, you mentioned social media as being a part of like how you grew your business originally. I personally love following you on Instagram, but I love your like today's lineups, series. So I really appreciate that. And I'm curious, what does a typical day look like for you as a business owner, as an esthetician? Like, what is that? As a mom of three, what is a typical day? And if there is one?
Oh my God, it's insane. It's nonstop. I don't sit very long. But we wake up. I have three kids. I have a 5-year-old, almost 5.5, who's in kindergarten. And then I have 2-year-old twins, and one has special needs. So we are going. We wake up in the morning, we do breakfast, we pack lunches. It's always been really important to me and my husband that we're the ones that are like taking our kids to school. So 2 out of 3 go to school. And then Emmett stays home. We have an amazing au pair who stays with him during the day if we're not home. And then we go to work after drop offs. And I have anywhere from 8 to 14 clients a day. So I don't have very many breaks in my schedule. I'm usually stuffing my face as like clients are walking in. And then I make my schedule so I can be home with my kids as well. Like my boundaries are very strict when it comes to them. I want to be around, especially while they're little. So usually I'm cutting my day off to be able to go pick up one of the kids. We come back together as a family. Stevie's in karate 2 days a week. Dinner, bedtime, exhaustion, just nonstop,
It sounds like it, but I also witnessed that you seem to be able to have some good like life balance, do some fun things on the side too. So you do seem to have figured out like a interesting balance of all the things, or maybe it's just the social media version of it. But
I really have ever since I had the twins, and I'm sure you could relate to this, or hopefully you can.
Twin mom, yes.
I know. I feel like having twins really made me feel like I was going to drown. I was so scared of having 3 kids. It's not something I ever like pictured for myself. And obviously, sometimes things happen. There's a bigger reason to everything. And now I wouldn't change anything for in the world. But at the time, it was very much like, this is scary. We have no family around. I own a business. My husband works a lot. So his hours are limited. Like, how are we going to do this without drowning? And I have to say that like getting an au pair, which at the time was just considered this, like, for us, it was the only financial way we could have 3 kids because the nanny was too expensive. The in-home daycare was too expensive. So doing this that sounded so fancy was actually the like cheapest option and the best for our family. And it really helped to like calm me down. We're very much involved. Like We cook dinner every night. We put our kids to bed. We take our kids to school. But having that someone that's like consistent in our family has been a lifesaver for me, to have the balance, because I know my kids are either with me, her, or dad. We don't have family that's around. So it does. And like prioritizing myself since having the twins has been it's been a priority, because if I'm not taking care of myself, I find that the more I take care of myself, the better mom I am.
I can 100% agree with that. It seems sort of like counterintuitive and not what we were almost sold as when we were younger, but I do agree. I mean, it really makes you sort of open up in a different way, or able to like approach challenges with twins, with any kid, like in a different way, and probably with your business too. So I love that. And I do think I've always envisioned an au pair as, something that seemed out of reach, but I've heard from others too that it does make a huge difference. It ends up being financially viable and like a good way to keep your family afloat.
Oh, totally. I mean, the only thing is I wish she could stay with us forever, but they're on strict, but it's just consistency. Like, it was hard for me. I remember having Stevie and having like just a simple thing of like getting my nails done. And I wanted to get my nails done to just it just made me feel better.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And I would have to pay a babysitter to like get my nails done. It's very quick. It's a quick, nah, do I really have to do that? Like, do I really? And then you just kind of watch yourself go down. And it's not like, not everyone could have an au pair or a nanny or whatever, but prioritizing a little bit of help or being comfortable. That's what I told myself when I got pregnant with the twins, was like, you better get comfortable being okay asking for help, because you can't do it all. And it was being very self-aware of like asking my husband for help, or asking our au pair for help, or asking our neighbors for help. I just had to ask a neighbor to help me pick up Stevie yesterday because the twins were napping and I was at work and CJ was working. It was just a crazy mess. And I'm like, someone help. But it's gotten easier, and you have a community, you build a community up. And we're so lucky to have the community we have that help us, be able to have that balance in life.
Yeah, no, I get that. And my next question, I think this sort of like relates to it, is, do you think the Conejo Valley is a good place to have a business? And I'm curious, one, it seems like from a community perspective, just with life, it seems like there's some good parts of it, but what do you think about owning a business?
Oh my God, yes. I actually just had a business call this morning, and we were originally talking about like if I was to open more locations or what that would look like. And ultimately, I don't know if it's like in the cards for me in the near future, like I thought it might be. But I love having my business in Thousand Oaks. Like, I look back on like, when I was okay, we're in Agora, two exits.
Yeah.
And thinking of what that would look like. And I'm just so grateful for how it turned out, because I feel like this is where I was supposed to be the whole time. And I'm happy that we live out here now. We just, my husband, every day, he was a little hesitant moving out here. And now he's like, thank you so much. Like, I just feel like I can breathe out here. Like, we're close to mountains. He mountain bikes now. We take our kids, we have a park down the street. Like, it's things that we didn't even know really existed before. Yeah. And then I work 8 minutes from my house. It's like,
there's a lot
so
to
lucky.
That. Yes. And no traffic in that commute.
It's like, you build, I feel like so lucky that I built this, life or this business. And it's very curated, it's not like the childhood I came from it was a different picture. And I think like when you have a childhood like that, you just want to have a different direction. And so, I really look back at my life, and me and my husband talk about it all the time, of like how we intentionally created and curated the life that we have. And we're like not done, but it's our hard work that got us where we are.
Ooh, I love that. I'm glad that you can be like, see that even now, and to only think about what's going to be coming up next.
Mhm.
Couple of business questions. So, what has surprised you the most about running your own business?
Oh my God, so many things. I think all the paperwork, like, God, I always tell people you don't want to run a business. You don't make as much as you think you make,
Okay.
and yeah, and you don't. It's not as much money as you think you're going to make, and it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of taxes. There's so many taxes, but
Yes.
um, I wouldn't. I don't think I would have it any other way. It's yeah. I think the taxes probably surprised me the most. I feel like I'm paying taxes every 2 seconds,
All the time. Oh
all
gosh,
the
I know
time.
the admin that comes with that is
Oh my
challenging.
God. And right now I'm the admin. So I'm the one I mean, I have a bookkeeper, thank God, or I would die, and a CPA. But like, other than that, I'm running payroll. I'm doing invoices. I'm putting retail orders in. And I feel like I'm paying the seller's tax to California every 4 months. And yeah, it's like, it's just a lot of, okay, who needs to be paid now?
The behind the scenes are not quite as glamorous.
Oh, it's like just taking my money. But, and also just trying to do it right.
Yeah, no, I think yes, that to me is very intimidating.
Mhm.
Well, kind of not on the flip side, but with that, what are you most proud of?
Oh God. So, it's hard. I've really been working on like imposter syndrome. Like I feel like we all have a little version of that.
Sure.
And for so long, I downplayed what I what it is that I built. And I feel like when I really sit back and look at what I've created and the people I get to work with and the community that I've brought and the clients that I have, I just feel like that is what makes me so proud. Like I have clients that have been with me since 2016. They've
Wow.
watched me have babies. They've watched me struggle with having babies. They've watched me have surprise twin babies. Like they've watched me go through such a crazy ride, and they've stuck with me and they've encouraged me. And I think one of the other things I'm super proud of is just like watching the people who work in the studios with me. I've watched their businesses grow and like watch them build the confidence, and just it's cool to see everyone growing, and the community that we've built, I think, is probably what I'm most proud of.
And it seems like that's maybe one of your core traits too, because you mentioned that with beauty school, you liked seeing the admissions and how that person went through their journey
Yeah.
and being able to keep those relationships from that time and have, two people still work with you that you met during that journey. That says a lot about you, I think, as as a person, but also as a business owner.
Yeah.
So kudos to that.
Thank you. It's probably to a fault sometimes,
Interesting.
but but yeah, like I think I just want everyone to be successful. And so like I feel like if I can empower someone to feel more confident, some of my girls, I mean, they know who they are. I will say, you need to post something. You need to show you have to show your availability. If you're not working, it's because people don't know you work anymore. Like, and I try to be really on them where, this new, the way the business is set up now is, they are running their own businesses within Face and Soul. And so I'm supposed to be more hands off and let them kind of run their own business. But it's like, I love the feeling of empowering or helping or watching people succeed. It's a big joy in my life.
That's fantastic. And I'm sure they appreciate that. Everybody
Yeah.
needs a little reminder sometimes.
Yeah. Or they're annoyed. Who knows?
Right. What is the maybe it's the admin work, but what's the biggest challenge or what has been the biggest challenge?
I mean, lately, the biggest challenge is not having enough hours in the day, I feel like. My schedule, like I love doing services, and I find that I just don't have enough time to fit in all of my clients lately. So, making more of me, more hours in the day that's like the hardest thing right now. Definitely like the paperwork, the taxes. I mean, that goes without saying. That's something that I need to delegate more of, to be
Sure.
honest. And I'm
Yeah.
like, but we're getting there
Okay.
slowly but surely.
And yeah, so what would be your vision for the future of Face and Soul Studios? Is it finding more team members, as opening a second location?
Right now, I'm trying to be, so if you would have asked me this last week, yeah, my vision was, I was ADD'd out last week. My vision was opening up 10 more locations, copy and paste, and doing so many different things. And this week, I'm really trying to hone in on exactly what that is. Be present in where Face and Soul is right now, because we just opened the salon like as a suites business in May. And really just taking in that, maybe throwing an actual grand opening, like a reopening party. Haven't
Ooh,
done that yet.
I vote for that. Yes.
Yes. And so many of my clients keep asking, like, are we going to do this or not? And I'm like, yeah. And here I am, ADD'd out, thinking about opening more, and I haven't even celebrated the one I've opened.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to slow down a little bit. I definitely want to grow the brand. I want to grow Face and Soul. I want to grow the store. I want to grow my business as far as like maybe putting out, I mean, this is 5-year plan, but putting out like a brow line. So that's what is hopefully in the cards in the next like 5 years, and possibly another location. We just have to, I got to be present in where I'm at and slow down, because it's hard, as you mentioned, like I have moved very quickly. It's like, I want more, let's go next step. And where we are now, it's like we have plenty of space. We have plenty of people. So I have to like really hone in on what the vision is and just be present and happy with where we are, because it's a cool place. And
Place. Yes. And celebrate your accomplishments. I think
yes,
that's a fair thing.
it's hard. It's hard to sit and, without going to the next thing. So I'm gonna try.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, but I mean, I have no doubt that you will, push through and make that 5-year plan happen, but definitely, being able to appreciate all you've done so far is also valuable. So,
Yes, thank you.
so I have a couple last rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
The first might be the most difficult. What beauty product would you bring with you to a deserted island?
Easy.
Oh,
That is my Suntegrity 5-in-1 tinted moisturizer. It's a sunscreen. It's SPF 30. It's a hyaluronic acid. It's a primer. It's tinted. It's perfect. So it's like all I'm wearing on my face right now, plus blush.
yeah.
But it's all I need every day, and it keeps my skin protected. And I sell it at Face and Soul, and it is my go-to product.
Love it. That was easier than I expected,
Yeah.
but we'll have to link to that. I love that. What is your favorite thing to do in the Conejo Valley?
Well, that's a good question. See, this one's going to be harder.
No.
I mean, I guess the beach is not really considered the Conejo Valley, is it? I love, we're close to Wildwood, so I love to be outside.
Yeah.
We love to go up into Wildwood. I love trying out new businesses. I love taking my kids out to restaurants in the area, the breweries in the area. We could appreciate a good beer here, or hard kombucha.
Sure.
So yeah, like I like the slower pace of the Conejo Valley, but I also like that it's growing and we're getting some like really cute new spots too.
I think that's one of my favorite things too, is to witness and be part of and experience the growth of the things that are coming here, and people sort of recognizing it for what it is, which is really cool.
And we're getting kind of trendy, which I'm like,
I know there's like some interesting places coming here, like Zinke and like all these interesting things. I'm like, oh, all the West Side restaurants are coming to
I love it though. Like, cause that's what I think that's what it's been lacking. If anything, like I mean, I love the Conejo Valley because it feels so small and community driven, but like I love seeing these cuter, trendier places coming. I mean, one of my favorite places is Cliff Diver. Have you been there?
Yes, they have an excellent happy hour too.
They do. Their
Yes.
margaritas are amazing. Their
Uh-huh.
staff is fantastic. Their
Yeah.
steak is great. I'm like, and it's so freaking cute.
It's so cute. It is. I know. I think I discovered that last year. I went on like a first date there. I was like, oh, this is a good spot.
Yes.
It's really cute. And it feels like just a bit like unique and special. So I
Yeah.
agree. That's a
I
good
love
look.
places like that.
Me too. Okay, cool. Lastly, what is one piece of advice you would give to first-time entrepreneurs?
Go follow your intuition. Like, if you feel like it's right, trust your gut. Don't be afraid of risks. Like, I mean, be smart, but also trust your gut, and follow your heart. Because I feel like a lot of people just put so much. I think a lot of people overthink entrepreneurship when they have such a great vision, or they could easily do something, but something so little scares them. And I feel like if you just take each step, it's probably easier than they can even imagine. But they just have to get through that first barrier. So I feel like if you just trust yourself and trust your vision.
Incredible. Well, thank you, Brittaney. This has been amazing. It's been so wonderful to learn about your journey and see all that you've done in such a short amount of time. Cannot wait to see the continued iterations, but enjoying the moments for now.
Thank you. I'm trying. Oh my God. You should see my husband. He's constantly like, Britt, calm down. Settle in this. But I feel like building an empire, right? So I got to manifest it.
I think, you know what? You can't be stopped. That's the thing. So
gonna try not to. All right. Well, I really appreciate you thinking of me and having me on your podcast. It was so fun talking to you.
It's been my pleasure. Make sure to subscribe to Conejo Valley Visionaries wherever you listen to podcasts so that you never miss an episode. And follow us at Conejo Valley Visionaries on Instagram. If you want to share your visionary story on the podcast, send us a DM. We are always open to guest nominations. This episode was produced by Cristina Dennstedt and Justin J.Sloan. Conejo Valley Visionaries is edited by Justin J.Sloan and J.Sloan Productions.